Hi everyone, so as promised I am going to show you today how to put your pages together. So in our previous Make a Book videos we've looked at how to put one page together, and then part 2 was how we join our pages, and so this is part 3 in our Make a Book series, and I'm going to show you how I join my pages at the spine to create pages that turn. This is an example of how it's working so far, and there are lots of ways of doing this. Some people would make a double page like that and join them at the spine. I'm making individual pages and joining them together, and the reason I've chosen to do it this way is that the method that I've come up with allows the spine to grow with the book. So as the book gets thicker, you can see this one's already quite chunky, the spine is going to grow along with it, and it will pull the pages together a little bit. If I show you the end there, it is sort of rounding out at the top, but the way I'm joining it allows there to be some space for the pages. It's actually a really simple method, and what I'm going to use is pearl cotton because I want something that's quite robust. If you've got a linen thread, that would be a good alternative, but you want something that's fairly robust, so a machine cotton won't cut the mustard for this one. You could use all 6 strands of some stranded embroidery thread if you want to, but I find that pearl cotton works really well. So the first thing I've got to do is make sure that I've got my pages in order and the right way round. Our tabs are going to be very helpful because they're always going to be on the right. So I've got my January page here, and this was our 5th week project, and my February and March page. My starting point is to gather the pages together and make sure that I've got the spines together. And I've got some pearl cotton here, and I'm just going to sneak it through between the layers of 2 pages just so that the end is hidden in there, and I want to bring it out on the corner at the spine, so you might have to help that knot go through a little bit. And this is a really simple technique. People have lots of different ways of doing it, but this is a way that I've found that works for me. So if you've got a different method that you'd prefer, just go for it. I've just found this works quite well for the sort of books that I make. So I've got my thread there. It doesn't matter, I've done it on my 2nd page, but you could bring it out on your 1st page if you wanted to. And I'm going to make use of the blanket stitches, so it's quite strategic that I've used blanket stitch because it's going to help me join my pages together. So I'm going to use mostly the eye end of my needle. If you've got a blunt needle, that's helpful too. And I'm going to take my needle under that first blanket stitch at the corner, and I don't want to pull it too tight. I want to use the natural width of the 2 pages. Okay, and then I'm going to take my needle back through the 2nd stitch on my 1st page and all the way through to the 2nd stitch on my 2nd page, like that, and pull it through. And again, I don't want to pull it tight, I'm sort of lacing them together. So now I'm going to go through the next stitch and out to the front like that, and I'm just going to lace my way down using those blanket stitches, not pulling mega tight. I don't want it loose, but I don't want to pull it. If I pull it too tight, I'm going to end up with a really tight spine, and the book's not going to sit nicely when it's complete. So again, I'm just weaving my way backwards and forwards through blanket stitches on the edge there. So I'm just going to work my way down. really helps if you have roughly even stitches between your pages, but if you don't, you can always double up in a stitch. So I've got two quite small stitches here on my grey page, so I've just doubled up on that stitch, and make sure you've sort of gone round one of the vertical stitches, otherwise it will just pull through. I'm using the eye end of my needle because I don't want to actually catch the felt, I just want to catch the stitches and lace them in. I've got two large stitches here and they're about the same size as 3 stitches on this one, so I've come through this stitch, I've gone round the post and back through, and then I'm coming round the post again and back through the same stitch there, just to make sure that there aren't any holes in the spine of my book. So just do whatever is going to work for the way you stitched it. Because we're doing it by hand, it's never going to be perfectly even, but that's not anything to worry about. Okay, so I'm going through my last stitches here, and I'm just going to knot that thread off by going under my last stitch and through the loop. And I'm just going to do that again, just so it's really secure. And then I'm going to trim that off as close as I can get without cutting the knot. So there's my first 2 pages laced together, and you can see there's a bit of a gap, but that's because there's some sort of space on the page, so if I hold it end on, you should be able to see that the pages sit quite nice and flat. So I'm going to get a new piece of thread. I had a bit left, but it's better if I've got one continuous piece of thread all down the spine. So again, checking I've got my page the right way round, so I want April facing up. This is my April-May page. I'm going to go in at the edge and out at the corner. I'm just going to help that knot go inside in between the 2 layers. There we go. And what I want to do now is lace my April-May page, this orange one here, to my February-March page. So I forget January's there now, I ignore that one, and I'm just going to lace the closest 2 pages together. So you'll see that on this one I've got my previous bit of lacing. I'm just working around them. Again, I'm trying hard not to, particularly with this one, because there's quite a lot of bulk on this page, because these were quite bulky pages. So I'm trying really hard to not pull too tight on that spine, so that the pages aren't pulled too tightly together, because I want to allow space for those 3-dimensional pieces that we did in April. I wouldn't normally be manoeuvring it this much, but I'm just wanting to totally make sure that you can see. Being really careful now because I'm down at the bulkiest part of the page, and I want to make sure that the corners line up. So I'm just manoeuvring it so that I'm lacing it evenly. And again through at the corner, and then I'm just going to tie that off by stitching through that stitch. Like that. So my next page is going to be my 5th week page, and then my June page will be on the back, and I will stitch that one to my April-May page. So I'm only ever lacing 2 pages together. So that's what the spine will look like. This will be covered, so don't panic if you think that looks ugly. It will be covered, and you'll see that the pages turn really comfortably and lie flat when they're open as well, and so that will carry on. And my tabs are looking, I'm really liking the little tabs. I think they're looking fab. So later in the year I will be looking at putting a cover on my book, so that'll be part 4 I think, and then part 5 will be finishing it off with any other little details that we want to add. So I think this is going to be a 5-part series. This is part 3. If you want to go back and watch part 1, you need to click on this video here, and part 2 is up here. And if you want to start the Winging It project starting back in January with our first panel, have a look at this one here. So hope that's been helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.